Hey everybody, welcome to Magic Mind. You are here, my friends, because you know that magic is an art form with the ability to move and entertain people like no other. But you know that developing this skill requires diligent practice and a detailed understanding of the craft. So, my goal with this show and company is to provide you with a community to introduce you to the people and ideas that will help you develop your magic. I'm Christoph, and today I'm joined by Adam Wilber. His story may sound familiar to you. It certainly did to me. What started off as a 6-year-old fooling his dad with the silk vanish has turned into a lifelong obsession with magic and mentalism. Adam Wilber has gone on to make appearances on NBC, Good Morning America, the Discovery Channel, Wizard Wars, National Geographic, soon to be Penn and Teller Fool Us, depending on when you're watching, of course, Live at the Magic Castle, and many more. But his already impressive resume becomes even more impressive when you consider some of the gigs that he's done, performing for companies such as Google, Hilton Hotels, NCIS, Intel, and BMW. All of this has earned him the nickname of The Worker. But odds are that he's even more famous to you guys for his work in the community. You likely know Adam as the general manager of Ellusionist, Ellusionist, of course, being one of the largest magic companies in the world. Through Ellusionist, we've been fortunate enough to see some of Adam's releases, such as Pyro, a crazy advanced piece of magic that lets you shoot fire from your wrist. Decibel, another crazy advanced piece of magic that lets you push music to a set of borrowed earbuds invisibly, and many more, including my favorites, such as The Worker and The Working Man DVDs, which focus on practical, real-world magic featuring live performances. With us today, the worker himself, none other than Adam Wilber. Adam,
Wow.
welcome to the show.
Hey, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and record that intro to keep for myself when I'm feeling down.
No worries, man. You've earned it. You've earned it. Trust me. And this will be available everywhere, so no worries.
At the right time. I appreciate that, man. Sometimes you need a little confidence boost. So good
Oh,
on you, Chris.
well,
Appreciate
thank you, Adam. I appreciate you being on the show. That's my little homage to you. I do really appreciate your time, and that's my
it.
way of
Yeah,
showing it.
I love what you're doing, and anyone who's trying to stress the importance of practicing the art as an art as opposed to learning tricks and fooling people, I'm all for. So kudos to what you're doing, and I hope I can be of help to people.
Absolutely, and that's actually a little bit what I want to talk about. You just now you said practicing it as an art instead of just practicing tricks. To you, what are the differences between those two statements? Someone who practices tricks and someone who works on magic as an art.
Well, when you say art, I think it can be taken in the wrong way. Art is whatever, somebody can take a dump in a box and call it art. Somebody believes it is and says that's beautiful, I'll pay for it. I think real art, if you had to define it, is something that people will pay for, right? There are artists that do it for the love and the passion of it and don't make a living. For me, I look at it as, if this is an art and we're trying to make money off the art, then you have to know every nuance of the art. And it starts with the trick, the secret. That's the first part. A lot of people forget that, and they think that it's all about the secret and knowing as many secrets as you can. But that old saying is that professionals do the same tricks to a bunch of different people,
Mm-hmm.
whereas hobbyists or non-professionals do a bunch of tricks to the same people. And I think to consider what I do in art as far as my performance of it is, I have to make sure that that art is something people will pay for and appreciate. And that comes with good theater and understanding people and understanding business and the whole package, and bettering every part of that package as opposed to bettering a double lift or a half pass. You have to focus on the end goal. And for me, this art form, the end goal is twofold: is creating and putting magic out for others, as well as getting people to recognize and pay for the talent that I've practiced, or the art that I have refined. So, the way that people look at it as an art or as in a hobby is the way that they're looking at it for their end goal. Some people think of it as an art, and it is to them, and all they ever want to do is impress their grandchildren. Whereas other people consider it a hobby, but they're true professionals that make a good living off of it. So I think it's just the context in which you frame it. But I believe everything's art, through the eyes of the person viewing it, they decide if it's art or not. So I know that the argument is magic an art or not? It's to you. That's your decision. Whoever is asked that question, they determine if it is or it isn't. Some people hate magic, so the last thing they would consider magic to be is an art. They they might consider it to be a nuisance as opposed to an art. And some people love magic so deeply that there could be nothing else for it to be except for an art, you know? So I think it's just the person who the question is asked to.
Fair enough. That's very interesting. And when you were talking about that just a moment ago, you brought up a lot of different technical aspects in magic, including, you know, the business, understanding people, all that. So there's all these different facets to magic, and maybe we only focus on the trick, or a lot of us do. For you, clearly you're doing something that separates you from a lot of performers given the success you've had. What do you feel is that thing that you're doing that a lot of performers are missing that has allowed you to build such a resume?
You know, I guess I have a good resume, sure, but I'm still nowhere near on the path of success that I want to be at, right? So I think my strongest point as a performer, and this is just because I can hear what other people say, and I take efforts into eavesdropping a lot. You know, people will tell you very nice things to your face, and even if you send out reviews, they'll still be pretty nice with them. But if you can get, you know, the bathroom stall conversation after your show, you go to the bathroom and you hear what people genuinely, truly believe about you, it's worth its weight in gold. And the one thing I keep hearing that resonates is that I am a personable character on stage, that they want to have a beer with me after the show. And I think that's a really important thing. Depending on your character, there are characters that clearly go out there as, I'm on another level, I know how to read your mind, I know this and that, and it's a different level. For me, I just want to relate to my audience, and my goal, Cody Fisher said it in one of his things, that he wants people to want to have a beer with him after the show. And just this last week at the Magic Castle was a really beautiful setup, because as the performer, as we finish, they leave, and there's nothing dividing the audience and me except a wooden door that they just walked through. So after every show, I would go to the wooden door and I would eavesdrop to what the groups were saying. And that really hit me, because out of 28 shows in 7 days, the number one thing I heard over and over was, man, he's likable. It wasn't, oh my God, that was the best magic I ever seen. How did he do that? How did he do this part or that part? It was about me, and the fact that he was really likable. His kids were really cute. I liked him. He was personable. And that was the best feeling I had ever felt on something I created. Pyro has sold millions of dollars worth and has been exceedingly successful. But hearing people say, I liked him, I liked watching him, he was a personable character on stage, that means more to me than producing a $1 million product. So I think that might be what the biggest strength as far as my success in performing has been. People want to hire their friends, and they want to rehire people they consider friends. And if you can go on stage and address a group of people to make you think they're your friend, or accept them as your friend, and they take that away, I don't know if that can be taught. I don't know if it can be practiced, but if you're conscious of it when you're performing, then I think you can make the effort. So I think that's my strongest point there. And then as far as the creative aspect of it, I'm very lucky to be in a position where I can create. You know, I didn't really start creating a lot of magic until I was in a position that the creation of my magic was what put food in my mouth. Before, it was odd jobs, and I would have to find the time and dedication to create. That's not an easy thing to do, but if you're forced with creating, if somebody said, I'm gonna pay you a good salary for the next year to just create magic, that's a really good position to be in. And I think that's the biggest strength I've got as far as creating, is that that's my job. I sit in my office with the 3D printer, and I have busy work and I have logistics to deal with, but the ability to have designated time to create is worth its weight in gold. Anybody can be creative. The idea that there's only certain people that are creative is complete bullshit. Everybody is creative. We learn as adults to stop being creative because of things that happen. And if you can put yourself into a safe environment without ridicule or judgment, forcing yourself to actively create, you'll blow your mind with what you come up with. So I would say, as far as the creation process, my biggest strength is the ability to have that time to force me to create. That's why I did these Instagram videos for the better part of a year. I wanted to create 15-second magic tricks every day. And I set that challenge and I met it. And It was fun, but then I realized it wasn't getting me further down my career where my goals were. So I stopped, and I do it less frequently now. But I think setting the challenge and allowing the space to create, that's a really big benefit I have as far as, and then also I work at Ellusionist. I'm the general manager. I run the show there, which means I have at my beck and call an amazing team of graphic designers, researchers, marketing experts, creative geniuses I can bounce ideas off, and then Brad with the financial backing to say, go for it. So I'm not more creative than anybody else. I'm just put myself in a situation to allow the creativity to show, because it's basically what I get paid to do.
Okay, there's two things in there. No, no worries. There's two things in there that I want to address. Have you always aimed for being personable on stage? If that's your character, someone who's personable, has that always been your character, or was there ever a time where maybe you were going for a different style?
Great question, and no, it hasn't. I'm continually trying to find my character. My character as an 18-year-old kid is a lot different than it is as a 36-year-old man, which it will be a lot different when I'm a 60-year-old performer. So I'm continuously trying to find my character, but to be honest, I never knew what it was. You know, the adage that I kept hearing was be yourself on stage, emphasized. That's a hard question. If you were to ask somebody, who are you? What are you about? Most people in life can't answer that question. So to say to somebody, go be something you're not sure of on stage, is essentially what we're saying. There are people that are so secure in who they are that they can. Bill Malone can go emphasize who he is on stage. That's who he is off stage. You know, it's an air of confidence to know who you are. And really, just this last week at the Magic Castle was the biggest sort of eye-opening of, maybe that is my character. Maybe my character is just somebody that's easy to get along with, that's somewhat well-spoken, at least on stage. I can present myself as being well-spoken and educated and friendly and likable. So I'm just starting to find my character, right? And that's going to change dramatically over the next year and 5 years. But I think I've always tried to get people to like me. I think that's an inherent, probably a character flaw of mine. And that transitioned into stage, which on stage is a great flaw to have. Want everyone to like you.
Right.
So subconsciously, that was what I was striving for, but I didn't really put the pieces together until really this past week at the castle. It resonated with me. And one piece of advice to anyone listening who may be way ahead of this part of their career is to find people you can trust that will answer those questions. Because I do have friends and people that have seen my show that have said that. And I took it with a grain of salt as, you're just being nice. Oh, you're great on stage. You're very well spoken. But take that stuff to heart and even send emails out to 10 of your closest friends and say, I'm trying to find my stage character. Be very honest. I want to know who I should be on stage. And all of my mentors say that I should be a exaggeration of who I am. In 10 words or less, describe who I am, faults and positives. And accept that, you know, take it, and it'll hurt. And some people will be so honest that it stings, but trust me, you know, I wish I would have done that 10 years ago with people that I can trust. So to answer it short, yes, I do believe it's subconsciously always been something I've tried to do, is get people to like me and be personable. But hearing it from strangers when they don't know I'm listening was what really sort of solidified it.
Okay, fair enough. You know, sometimes you can't always trust your friends, and I understand that. They don't want to hurt your feelings, but strangers don't care. Especially when they don't know you're listening.
There's hire a producer. Spend a couple $100 and get a theater producer that will come to one of your or two of your shows, or you can film it and send it to them and ask them, because they don't give a shit about you, right? Their job is to make you a performer. Your friends, they give a shit about you. Your enemies, they give a shit about you. So you're going to get a constricted response. But if you hire someone as a theatrical producer, they will give you the up and down. I should have done this many times. I should still do this, but it's one thing I haven't done that I know would skip a lot of that trial and error. Pay someone the money who knows what they're doing, watch your show, and take the feedback.
I find that people who have sort of a background in magic, take Dan Harland, are very self-aware in this way. They understand the theater behind what they're doing, and of course theater is so important in magic. Let's talk about how much you create now versus perform, because you're kind of in this weird position where you're a performer, but you're also the general manager at Ellusionist, which I'm sure is a big part of your time. So how do you balance those, and what do you prefer to do today?
Great question. I balance them very well. I love performing. I think that's where my passion of magic is. I love the idea of us taking what we all love and making people feel good. You know, if I was a musician, I wish I had that talent because I would write songs over and over to make people feel good. But the only skill set I have is magic. And to be able to take that and make people feel good is it's the best feeling in the world. Creating magic is a great way to make money. It's a great way to get my name into an industry. As just a performer, if I had created nothing, nobody would know Adam Wilber. I probably wouldn't have got on Penn and Teller Fool Us. I wouldn't have got to the Magic Castle. And it is something really nice about creating something from nothing. It is real magic. You have an idea and then you beat it up and it beats you up and you fight with it for months or years, and then it comes to fruition. And then you get feedback from others that say, thank you, this has helped my magic. You can't put a measure on how important and powerful that is. So I try and split my time down the middle. My goal is to create 1 or 2 big projects a year, to secure my place in this company, to keep pushing my creative juices. And my real goal is to be able to perform so much that, money isn't the issue, that money comes in for me performing because that's what I love. And then I get to create whatever I want, and my focus now is, I just finished literally an hour ago, final edit on a book I've been writing for 2 years on creativity, on my take on it and how I truly believe that it's saved my life.
Wow.
Realizing I was creative and taking creativity as not just creating something, but a real deep dive of who you are. And I think if you create things, they are intrinsically pieces of you're giving to the world. So before you can really create beautiful pieces of whatever, poetry or art or creative ways to connect with people or talk to people in your life, you have to know who you are. So that journey of creativity has been a life-changing, life-altering, and I think life-saving thing for me. It gave me a sense of worth and a sense of who I really was. And so I still create, right? I've been creating this book for 2 years, but I'm not creating magic every day for Instagram like I used to. And I'm not every day in my office spending 2 hours going, what's the next magic trick I'm going to create? I'm now allowing these things to naturally fester. And I get an idea and I love it, and then I run with it. And it's not out of necessity, it's out of a passion. So I do think I have a pretty healthy balance of the two. I think the key is creating on my terms. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to create for your job and you have deadlines. And that's one obstacle. But when you're allowed to create from passion, from what you want, look at the best artists in the world. A lot of them weren't even famous until they were dead. And the stuff they created has become works of arts that will never be forgotten because they created from inside, from what they wanted to create. They weren't creating to make a paycheck. And it's a really good place when you can start creating from that place. And I want to focus more on that. I want to and not give a shit. This book may be ripped apart. The reviews of this book may be that I'm a fake and a facade, or it may be well received. But the idea of having that thought in your head while you're trying to create, that's one of the biggest challenges in creating, is letting those voices speak and then disappear, and just putting what you want out and doing your best to make it great and being okay if it sucks. So I think I have a healthy balance, and I think it is a trick to maintain the balance. If I was solely performing, that's all I ever did, and I couldn't create, I don't know that I'd be happy, and vice versa. So
wow, that's an awesome answer. By the way, congratulations on the new book. That's amazing that you just finished final edits an hour ago. What are the odds? Now's a perfect time to talk about creativity.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's been a long road, and sending your book, your baby, to an editor who's good, and then getting back notes is a rough pill to swallow. It took me a week to sit with it before I finally went, all right, I get it. And then I finally just went through. So, like I said, we'll see. It's up to the readers to decide if it's valuable to them or not. And my goal with the book, while it sounds as lofty as ever, is to inspire a generation of creatives, of people that realize that they're creative, that follow through with it, and in turn they find their most fulfilling and passion-driven life.
I love
Lofty,
it.
right? If I get even half of the way there, I'm going to be in a good spot.
Perfect. Can you predict how something will be received? Especially, we're talking about this book, you've put different things on the market. Can you ever predict that?
I think one of my strengths is being able to, being a good eye on what will sell to magicians. I think I'm good at that. I know I have a pretty good understanding when I see a trick if it's going to do well or not. Am I always right? Not even close. I've predicted things to sell thousands and thousands of units that sold hundreds, and I've predicted things that were going to be a bust and have been bestsellers. But in general, I do think I have a pretty good eye of what the market will like. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty much where it ends. Other than that, predicting things, I've found in life, things that I think are going one way, the next day I get slapped in the face with reality, and what I thought was there was false and was wrong. I predict this book. My gut is that people are going to hate it. And the reason is I have, I may appear to be a self-confident person, but the reality is I'm not very self-confident. Stuff that happens in life can beat your confidence up. As you get an edited book back, you can go, what the hell was I thinking? Of course this was shit. Look at all the notes. So I can't predict much more than what I think will sell well in the magic community, and I think I have a good eye for that. I hope I'm proven wrong, and I hope my book does 100,000 units sold and people write me and say I've changed their life. But as far as predicting things like that, I don't have a clue, man. I just put my head down, do the work, and hopefully it pays out,
Okay. How can we practice our creativity? Sorry, I didn't let you to. I'll make the answer longer if you want to take a drink.
No, that's fine. It's funny. That's exactly what my book is trying to stress. And creativity is just a mode, right? It's just a mode of operating. And practicing it is like practicing anything. How can you practice the piano? You set aside time every single day. You realize you're going to suck. There's going to be obstacles. You're going to want to stop, but you persevere. So through practicing creativity, you need time and you need space. You need time to be creative, and you need a space that's inducive to your creativity. Some people work great with messy desks and clutter, and some people work great with a clear mind and a minimalistic office. So it's finding who you are, what you work best in, and allowing yourself uninterrupted time, truly uninterrupted time, where there's no phone, there's no Facebook, where you're sitting down every single day as part of a process, as part of a practice to get better. And that's what you do. You sit down with that time in that space every single day, and you force yourself. And if you don't create, you mind map and you write ideas and you journal. And if you're not in the mood to journal in that hour, then you research and you get on websites that inspire your creativity and you jot notes. You do the work. There's nobody that wakes up and goes, bang, I'm creative. I had this best idea. And people do wake up and have ideas. The creativity is to bring that idea to fruition. Ideas are easy, man. Anybody can have ideas. Go have a glass of wine, have a conversation with your friends, and 50 ideas came up. Go ahead.
I love that. I talk about that a lot, the difference between ideas and actually executing on ideas. Successful people are people who execute on ideas. Not successful people are people who come up with ideas, because ideas are everywhere. People who execute on ideas are rare.
Exactly. And creativity is nothing more than ideas. They're taking ideas and putting them together in a meaningful new way. That is what creativity is. So for someone to say I'm not creative is to say I'm not alive. You have ideas in your brain, and your brain, unless you're mentally challenged or you have an issue where you can't make connections, of course. But that's a very small percentage of the world. Other than that, people have ideas and they have the brain capacity to connect those ideas. Once they've done that, it's then to make that into something. And the thing that sucks is half the time what you thought you were making turns out to be a bust. But the creative process tells you to take the losses and learn from them. Now connect new ideas. So I think you're right. I think creativity is what it is. Creativity is taking ideas and putting them together in new ways. But to be a creative person is to express those ideas in some sort of product, in some sort of poem, in some sort of way that you choose to relate to people in your life. And that's the hard work. That's I'm going to take this idea and make it something, right? Pyro was an idea that I knew what I wanted, and it wasn't a product to sell until 2.5 years later. And again, I was in a lucky place where I had the freedom and the perseverance because of my job to fight through that. So for someone who's struggling with 2 jobs and barely getting by, and they're trying to stretch their creative, capacity, that's going to be a harder position to be in than somebody that's the GM of a magic company. But it's very doable, and it's about hard work, right? It's about persistence in following through with what you believe and not letting the bullshit of life convince you otherwise.
There's 2 people I follow a lot, Tony Robbins, and you said something that he would say, which is it's not about your resources, it's about how resourceful you are as a person, how much you can make with nothing. And the second person is Tom Bilyeu, and he also says something that you touched on very well. He has an equation, I equals I-O. Ideas in equals ideas out. So when you're trying to be creative, you do the research, you put yourself in front of a piano, you do all that, eventually you'll get something. When you take in music, when you take in research, when you take in ideas, you'll start coming up with new connections between those different ideas, and you'll be able to create something original. So if we're applying that to magic, when is something original? What does it take before you can call something your own and not, a variant of someone else's thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a great question. There's no answer to that. There's no right or wrong. There's intellectual property that you can patent. I've got a few patents from things I've created at Ellusionist. Like, legally, those are ideas that cannot be stolen. But then there's also something to be said about taking an ambitious card and putting a presentation to it that no one's ever heard of. That is now your presentation, your creative endeavor to make something new out of an old existing product. So I think for something to generally be new, I read a formula once, and this was years back, but it was something like every effect has the method, the props used, and the presentation. And if 2 of those 3 things are new to you, it's a new effect. So if Ambitious Card uses a double lift, a deck of cards, and a presentation about your name is meaningful to you, so it comes to the top of the deck. If I take Ambitious Card and I use photographs and a double lift, and my presentation is about memories and that they're always with you, that's a new, right? Because I'm changing 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 3. But if I just took the Ambitious Card and used a deck of cards and the presentation that your name always comes to the top, but instead of a double lift, I used a glide, I don't believe that's new. I believe that that's just tweaking somebody else's effect slightly to fit your needs. So if I had to put a cut and dry to it, I would say that's a pretty good reasoning, is that out of the 3 major things that make a magic trick, which is effect, method, props used, and presentation, if you are inventing 2 out of the 3 of those, then you've invented a new piece.
Did you just come up with the photographs ambitious thing? Was that off the top of your head?
Yeah, just because I couldn't think of something else besides a deck of cards, but a photograph, whatever, credit cards, anything.
Yeah, I thought that was great. The idea that photograph memories are always with you, so your photograph comes to the top, that's really cool. I think I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, it's all yours, man.
Thanks, man.
Gregory took a blank deck and put a name on it. That took Ambitious Card to a totally different level.
Right.
That's now a different... It's the same exact trick, but it's completely different. And all he did was change the props and the presentation. So, I think that's a great way if you're looking to invent magic to take an effect, right? Take confabulation. Well, what are the props used? What's the method to make it happen? And what's the presentation? Change 2 of them, which is pretty easy to do. Mm-hmm. And we just did it in a conversation in 30 seconds. And you can have an entire new act of your own, and I think there's merit to that. But the other thing is, I don't think you have to focus on that. You're out there to perform and make good magic for people. It isn't about creating new magic. That's why classics are classics. Mm-hmm. Some of the best Michael Carbonaro. If you've seen his live show, you'll know that you can buy his entire live show at just about any magic shop in the country. And it's not about that. It's about him. And you leave the audience loving that man. He is such a good theatrical performer that he puts his own presentations to classic methods and props and makes them his own. So it's not about creating to make it, oh, the show has to be all me, only me. There's amazing performers out there like Cody Fisher, like Bill Malone, like Bill Abbott, that have done 10, 20, 30 years of work that you can purchase from them and have a rock solid show. So know what you're going into before you worry about making your show 100% your own. I think more so if you're out there performing to make a living, your job is to entertain the audience. If you're buying material from people that put it out, like Bill Abbott is a perfect example. He doesn't put anything out unless he has tested this to the point where when you get the package, you practice it for a week, you go on stage and you have a blockbuster. Take advantage, you know?
So with that in mind, oh, that's weird. I can hear myself now. Okay. With that in mind, how much of your set is original to you?
Well, I have multiple shows, but my stand-up corporate show, my magic and mind reading show, none of it. I have one piece in there that I invented myself. I won't say too much about it because it is mine and I want to keep it, but my set opens with a vanishing bottle, which I have my presentation to, but it's a Nielsen vanishing ketchup bottle. Then I go to silk to egg. Then I basically do ring wallet watch, but ring wallet watch with my own presentation to it. Into a cards across, celebrity smartass by Bill Abbott. I then use spend pads to do a confabulation routine. And then I have a few other fillers here and there that I add in and out, rope routines, but nothing that is, I don't do pyro on stage. And if I do, it's at a keynote presentation on creativity to talk about the creative process. Mm-hmm. I don't do solved on stage. I've tried decibel on stage a few times, and I was honest with myself enough to realize it's a better close-up effect. It is a one-on-one personal effect. Look me in the eyes when this happens. So the majority of my stand-up show, while the presentations might be my own and the routining and where the pieces go, most of it is tried and true, tried and tested things that I've bought from workers like Bill Abbott, Cody Fisher. I've used Cody Fisher's comedy confabulation ever since I've done stand-up magic, and I'll probably never take it out of my show. The construction of the way he does that effect is better than anyone I've ever seen. Most of my close-up work are variations of Bill Malone stuff. I find people, David Williamson's. I find people that I really respect on stage and go, man, I would love to be half of that performer. I take their material that they have to offer. Now make that point that they have to offer. If you're seeing a video of them performing online and you're reinventing their script and their presentation, don't be a dick. That's all you're doing. If they've sold it and you have the rights to perform it, by all means, they put it out there for a reason. So not a lot. Most of my stuff in walk around, I do a lot more of my own created stuff because those are card tricks. Those are easier. But most of my stand-up work, my Magic Castle stuff, I did a new take on the mental photography deck. I got some great feedback about that. And the rest of that show was 50 and 60-year-old tricks. Dr. Daly's Last Trick, Immaculate Connection by Paul Harris. I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just piecing it together in a way that fits for me.
That's interesting. And that leads me to this question, which is when you are going to add something to your act, to your routine, to your set, do you have certain criteria that you look for? Maybe to make sure it fits you or that it works well with the rest of your pieces, those sorts of things.
Yeah, Cody Fisher, a big idol of mine. Laughs per minute. It's a great way to look at it. How many laughs per minute does my effect get?
Okay.
I have a few serious effects that I tie my show together with, where I just try and give a little message, a little motivation to people to live a better life. And the fact that little tiny things you do to help others may seem small to you, but can change the world. So I leave that. That's the only serious bit in my show. The rest, I want people laughing. So my gauge is this going to fit my character? Which is, I do not claim to be magic. These are all clearly tricks. I'm going to fool the shit out of you, but we're going to do it in good fun. Laugh along the way. And if that fits, If I can get away with that. So a good example is I could never pull off a serious mind reading effect. I could never be the guy that comes out and goes, I have studied body language so heavily that it doesn't fit me. Look at Darren Brown. Darren Brown can do it and make you believe he is God, and he does it well, but that doesn't fit my character. So I look at things that, are they gonna make people laugh? Is the method rock solid? I've taken pieces out of my show over and over because at the end, a perfect example, and I'm not talking bad about this effect, it didn't work for me. Cody Fisher's, I forget what he calls it, but it's essentially invisible deck with a kicker. You throw pieces of paper out into the audience. As they get them, they name a suit, a color, a value, and a number. You show in your deck that it's been upside down, but in turn, the pieces of paper that were thrown out spell out 3 of hearts. It's a killer prediction. There it is. And I love it. Great trick. But in 3 of my shows in a row, and I asked a few people, and they went, we think you were just tossing out what people said. And I eliminated it from my show. 10% of my audiences might have known or had an inkling, and that was too much for me. I want my routines to be completely fooling. That's priority 1. Priority 2, it has to make them laugh. There has to be some sort of humor, or that I can incorporate some sort of humor. And thirdly, can I do it in every environment? I mean, I perform in corners of restaurants and on stage for 1,000 people. I want my show to fit into a case that I can bring with me everywhere. And this took 2 years to realize. I used to have a friggin' appearing ladder and an appearing mallet and all these big props. And I thought that's what made the show. But the reality was I shrunk everything down to things that made people laugh, connect with me, make me human, and fit in a briefcase. And it's slowly getting to the point. You'll hear workers say it all the time. I want the show that packs small and plays big.
Yeah.
So if they can fit in line with that, I'm on board. I just bought Bill Abbott's new confabulation routine. It's $400, and it's brilliant. I just watched it last night, and it'll take me a month to incorporate it into my show, but it'll eliminate one final point. In my confab routine, I have to force all the items. The benefit of that is that the envelope prediction is in the audience the full time. There's no tricky business. They open and they read it. I'm forcing with Sven pads. One person in the audience knows what a Sven pad is, and the whole routine is shot. Bill's eliminates that because now there's real-time information in this prediction. So if it can pack small, play big, fool them badly, and make them laugh, that's my criteria. If it's easy to do, that's the icing. I like a couple things that are heavy, that are sleight of hand in my show to show I can do it. But the easier they are, the more time I have to focus on my audience and make sure they're laughing. So that's my criteria. Sometimes I see things that I love that don't fit it, and they go out the window.
I like the last thing you said there, because to me it really sounded like performance comes first, magic comes second. I don't remember.
I think it has to.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I really liked that you said that, and I hope people paid attention to that because it is important. Okay, I have some questions from Reddit. These are people from the community that I extended an offer to submit questions to, and they've got some for you.
All right.
How do you think the creation of effects will continue to change with more and more digital magic and the lack of originality in certain areas?
Good question. I think what's going to happen, which has already happened, is we'll see less artists that come out with the worker, or here's my DVD of 15 of the things I like to do. Because the reality is it doesn't sell. The magic community can be a very shady, scummy community. You know, there's 10% of the people that are that way and 90% that are amazing. But those 10% will get a DVD, rip it offline. It'll be in China for $2. And the artists that put the time and energy into that, they don't get compensated the way they should. They get more compensated by a $5,000 show at a corporate event. So I think we're going to see a lot less of real workers putting out solid material, unless it's something like Bill Abbott's $400 package that you got to buy from him. If you want it, you know, yeah, you can burn it online or rip it. My focus on creating nowadays for the last 3 years have been electronics or devices that are shippable that they can't just create on their own. That's why I haven't put out a Workers 3. You know, it's not worth it. The amount of time and energy I give for all of these personal routines to just be ripped off and stolen is, whereas if I need to make a living creating magic, something that's shippable and can't be replicated easily. So I think that aspect of it is going to be hard. I think we're going to lose a lot of potential really good ideas, thoughts, and books nowadays are basically non-existent. And some of the best things in the world were written in books. And I think people assume it's okay to just learn from video and DVD nowadays, where the reality is you don't have your bass, you don't have your tarbell, and you're Now You See Me, Now You Don't, or Klutz Book of Magic, or, you know, Darwin Ortiz Strong Magic, things like that. You can't get that stuff across in video digital format. And look at Tommy Wonder. I mean, his DVDs are good, but his literature is life-changing. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to hurt magic. I think the real workers and the real people that appreciate this art are going to have to work harder to get to the point where they're advancing their art in the right direction. With that said, I think there's huge benefits to it. I think the idea that you can go on YouTube and find about any secret and learn magic, there's benefit to that. You want to go out and teach people to pass on YouTube? Do your thing. You're not going to affect my career, because people don't hire me because of my past, right? They hire me because I make them laugh and I'm Adam Wilber. So without the internet, without the way things are going, Shin Lim would not be a magician. He's very open about the fact that he learned magic from YouTube. He's the world champion of card magic. So to say that the idea that YouTube is bad for magic and digital formats are bad for magic is stupid, right? Mm-hmm. That would be like saying Shin Lim is bad for magic. So I think it makes it harder for people to understand and find the theory and the practice and the art of magic, and it makes it way too easy for people to say, hey, I invented something, it's now for sale as a download. So challenging, but both beneficial and detrimental at the same time.
All right. Question number 2 from Reddit. What's one belief you have about magic that many other magicians would disagree on?
Good question. One belief that I believe other magicians would disagree on. That's a damn good question. I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff I agree with most people do, that most magicians need to get out of their own way, that they're cocky and arrogant, that they don't realize that the magic is for other people. It's a gift that we're giving as opposed to something that people should be thanking us for. I think one of the main things, but it's a catch-22. I believe that most audiences, a perfect example of this is when I invented Pyro, and in the trailer there was some exposing of the device. The magic world got in an uproar and said, I'll never buy this now because it's on YouTube explaining how it works. Okay, so the thought process there is, I'm not going to buy Pyro, which allows me to show my hands empty and shoot fireballs, because my audience will now know that there's a device in my wrist that's allowing that to happen. So your argument is that you wanted the audience to truly believe you're shooting fireballs from your hands. And I don't think audiences are stupid people. I don't think anyone in your audience is going to go, oh my God, that's a superhero that can shoot fireballs from his hands. So I think the idea that trying to get people to believe that you're magical or that you are able to read their minds is silly to me. I truly believe that. It's not right. I know it's not right, and I know people will disagree with it because Darren Brown does it beautifully. A lot of mentalists do it flawlessly. Eugene Berger made people truly believe he was magical. But I think what really happened is they made them truly believe the experience they just shared was magical. So when they go home and they resonate and they think about it, they're not going to go, that man can really read my mind. But they can say, the experience I shared with that person gave me the understanding that anything is possible. So I don't believe audiences truly think that we're magic or that we can read minds. And I don't think we should strive to make them believe that. I think we should strive to entertain them. That's my 2 cents. And I'm sure most people would disagree. I've had even one guy tell me the only reason I believe that is because I'm not a good enough magician to convince people that I'm really possessing these powers. And I'm okay with that. I sleep okay at night with that on my mind.
Fair enough. Question number 3 from Reddit. And this one may be a little bit similar to the first, so we'll see. Do you think that there's a lack of integrity among modern magicians today? If so, why?
No, I don't, because the magicians I look up to and respect have the utmost integrity. So there's always, bad seeds. There's always going to be people that rip people off. But no, I think there's a lot of integrity in magic. And I think the real workers, the real pros, the real lovers of this art can very quickly recognize when somebody's being a scumbag, ripping someone off or stealing an idea. And that's why the people who do a lot of that, they don't get a lot of respect in the community, at least in the people that I look up to and that I sort of aspire to be one day. So I don't think there is.
Who are the people that you are thinking of when you say that? The people you look up to?
Bill Abbott, David Williamson, Bill Malone, Matt King, people that you wouldn't have heard of. I have friends that are corporate magicians that provide. Lou Serrano is an amazing magician. David Hyra. These people love magic and understand the business of it and still love magic. Understand, this is a grind and this is hard, but they love magic because they go out and they make people feel better. They make the world better for the hour they're on stage. Those are the people that I look up to, I respect. And I don't think you can have that in your heart, the want and the need to help people feel better and be happy and smile and lack integrity. I think if that's your goal, to be on stage, to make a living and to make people happy and feel good, then I think you inherently you have integrity, so those are the kind of people that I look up to, the people that are doing it, and doing it for the right reasons.
I like that a lot, and that's something I'm trying to think about in the way that I perform magic. Sometimes when you do the impossible, it feels like your audience is going to look at you like a god, and I'm trying to shift that frame so that I don't want to be a god. I want to be, this is an awesome moment we're sharing together, and that's kind of hard for me to reframe, because if I saw someone do something impossible, I'd immediately regard them with a high stature, and I don't know how to eliminate that for myself when I'm performing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's a very valid, it's kudos for you for recognizing that. Look, man, anyone who goes on stage and does well and can hold their own on stage is going to be held to a higher standard and looked at as the alpha. A guy that walks into a room and he's the funniest person in the room is elevated. And you don't have to be told that. You know that. You can see when you're performing and you've got every eye in the room looking at you, you know why that's happening.
Yeah.
You're the center of attention. When you're on stage, it's even more elevated. The way I get around that, I have a book test in my show, and this thing, you can't know the method. It's too solid. It's such a good book test that it is real mind reading. Here's a book. Is that a real book? Take all the time in the world. It is? Great. Find any word in there. I'll tell you the word. It doesn't get better than that. For me to counter that, I want the impact, right? I want them to know this is impossible. But for me to eliminate the, hey, I know how to do that and you don't, because I'm a genius and you're not. I put it into a reality check where I say, this isn't magic, this isn't real mind reading. If people could really read your minds, it would be proven. What this is a way for us to experience impossible together. And the best part about this is a 1-hour show, but when you leave here, you can go experience possible with other people. You can be the impossible. For instance, you open the door for somebody and let them walk through it. To you, that's you opening the door. For them, they might have just been broken up with their girlfriend, thought they were at the lowest part of their life, and nobody even recognized their existence until you open the door for them. That's impossible. So I make it very clear, this isn't impossible. I'm not a god. But what I'm trying to do is emphasize the fact that things that seem impossible can be, and that we can be the conduit for these shared experiences of wonder and exhilaration. And it doesn't have to be, I'm better than you. It has to be that we're sharing this. Jesus. Sorry.
Someone's really trying to get a hold of you.
Because my computer tells me my phone's ringing, my phone tells me my phone's ringing, and my watch tells me my phone's ringing. So,
how about the 3D printer in the background? Does that ring?
Well, not yet. That hasn't got a phone or.
All right. I'm going to go back in this interview and look at that line, because it was really beautiful when you talked about how you can give someone else an example of the impossible in their life opening the door. That was really beautiful, and I think I was trying to set this how it would be if I was doing it, and I think that would work. That would solve the problem of I don't want to look like a god, and I think that this is just a trick, but it's just a simulation of the impossible. I want you to know that, and I want you to show you how you can go and feel the same thing in different ways. I think that that's a really, really beautiful solution to that problem of not being a god. I think
art is about sharing love, right?
Right.
If you can focus on every action you take throughout life being from a place of love, you will be happy, right? Every book in the world, the Bible to self-help books, say the same thing. And if we can express our love through magic, it isn't about, look what I can do and you can't. So while I'm the magician and I've practiced this for years, my art is fooling you with this book test. You may be a computer software engineer. Maybe your art in that form could be finding somebody that genuinely needs help with software development for a good cause and play a part in that. And that's your impossibility, because to that person it was impossible. You've just made it a reality. So we're magicians. That's our conduit. That's our tool to make it look like we do these impossible things. But the end goal should still be connection, right? So you don't have to connect through a magic trick. Musicians do it through their music. Poets do it through their poetry. And teachers do it through their creative means of teaching their classes. There's a teacher that developed a personal handshake for every child she was teaching, or he was teaching. So they lined them up, every kid came up, and he did a handshake for that child that resonated with their personality. That's the most beautiful use of creativity I'd ever heard of. There's no selfishness in it. It's a way to use creativity as a tool to make his job easier, and his job is to try and connect with these kids to give them a better life. That is creativity. That is an unselfish, unbiased form of creative expression for the betterment of other people. And I think that's what we should be focused on as magicians, using our creativity and our talents to better other people's lives. How do you better someone's lives? By making them laugh on stage for an hour. That's the answer. You made them laugh for an hour. That you just bettered their lives for the hour, right? So I think, I don't know, it's a soapbox, but I think that is. I think I'm going through this transition in my own life and focusing less on, oh, you're so great, you're amazing. That's why I got into magic. I want people telling me I'm great. I don't have high self-esteem. So someone saying you're friggin' incredible, hell yeah. But that gets tiresome and that gets exhausting. And to a point you want to, I'm transitioning into keynote speaking right now for a reason. Friends of mine that do it say, I did magic shows my whole life and never has anyone called me a year later and said, I changed my life after watching your magic show. It resonated with me so much, I'm now in a better place, you changed my life. Whereas my keynote speaking friends say that happens to them weekly. So now I'm looking at how can I take my magic and actually change people's lives for the better? How do I use what I love, which is magic, as a tool to inspire and motivate? So, it's a never-ending cycle, and I think people go through stages of that. I think it's do magic because people tell you you're great, ride that wave for as long as you can, and then there's got to be some transition. What more is there? And every pro I know, there's more. It's more than just the money. It's more than just that, hey, you're the best ever. There's something inside coming from a place of love that wants to get out, and it's just using the magic to get there.
Wow, I just felt a wave of endorphins because something really awesome just happened. You solved a big problem for me, and I feel with 100% certainty that I am going to look at magic a little bit differently now. My new mission is to try and find a way to create a magic show that will give people the same effect as a keynote. What you were just saying, where I want someone to call me a year later and tell me that my magic show has helped them since they saw it.
I couldn't think of anything better. Imagine somebody calling you in a year saying, I was about to kill myself and I saw your magic show and it changed the way I look at life. I'm now in the best place I've been. Dude, good Lord. I mean, if that's not worth waking up to,
Yeah,
then you might as well jump on the stage. I mean, and again, it's a way of taking what we love and not, and still letting it be art, right? Letting it emotionally move people. So thanks for saying that, man. That if you find the solution, I would love to sit in the audience of one of those shows.
I'm gonna work on it. I really am. That was really beautiful, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna come back down. How do we start booking the types of gigs that you have on your resume, Adam Wilber?
If you find out, let me know.
Right.
That is the challenge. The business is the hardest part of it. It is never ending. It is, there are a few avenues that we can go in as performers that you will get booked over and over. Trade show work, if you're good at it, it's an awesome way to build a clientele of 5 to 10 customers that will use you year in and year out. And it's good money. Private shows, private parties, corporate events. The reality is, even if you are the best they've ever seen and you get a $10,000 private or a corporate show and you're the main act and you kill it at their holiday show, they're not going to hire you back next year. They've seen it. That's your show. They're going to have a comedian or they're going to have a juggler or whatever it is. So it is very hard. The business part of it is very hard. There are a few things that I can say you need. But this could be a 2-week long discussion on that. The main things that you have to have are something that makes people want you as the performer. If they are Googling magician in your area, you probably don't want those people because what they're doing is looking for a magician. They can find one anywhere. If they're looking for the world's best comedy magician, and that's what you've branded yourself as and you can back it up, now you're talking. If you are the one guy that does that trick that everyone talks about, a good example of this is Stephen Brundage. He's that Rubik's Cube guy from America's Got Talent.
Yep.
That has treated him very, very, very well. He's also a very charismatic, likable person, but he has the thing, the Rubik's Cube. For me, I don't have the thing. What I do have is some great TV appearances. I have some great products that I can leverage because the trailers look incredible. That gives me some worth, some merit, some differentiator. And I think that's very, very important. You have to know what your unique selling proposition is. What am I buying when I get this person? The second most important thing you can do if you want high-paying gigs is to make a website. And not just make a website, learn how to make a proper website. Most magicians make a website that go, look how fucking incredible I am. Check this out. Look what else I can do. I've done all this. This is what everyone says how cool I am. And none of them say, you got to keep in the mind of the person who's going to your website. They're probably an event booker at a mid-level to upper level at a company that is booking entertainment for the entire company with one hope in mind. You don't make them look like an idiot for hiring. So then they go to your website and all they see is how great you are. But they don't see people in business suits that look like their coworkers having a good time. They don't see examples of what you're going to do on stage to put their mind at ease that you're not going to come out and start swearing. So make a website that has corporate friendly assets. It has to have a video of you. It has to have pictures of you. It has to have testimonials, any accolades you have. Those should all be there. Not everybody has those. So in starting out, be smart about what you do have. Get some great headshots that fit well in the corporate world. Make sure your ad copy very clearly says what you're going to give them. I'm buying a service from you. What am I getting in return? Talk to them as if this is what I'm presenting to you, not this is how great I am. And speak the message that the customers you're targeting want to hear, right? You're not going to have, if you've got kid shows, corporate events, and keynote speeches all on the same website, you're a fool. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, and I'm sure people do it and get away with it, but you're a moron. Someone who's hiring a kid show doesn't want to see that you perform keynote speeches. And I promise you, someone that might pay you $5,000 or $10,000 for a keynote, as soon as they see you doing balloon animals on your website, it's not going to happen. So know what your website is targeted to and 100% target it to them. Have a good website and have something unique about what you have to offer. That's the hardest thing, finding your unique selling proposition. You know, I could be the tattooed magician with earrings, but that market isn't the market I want to go to, right? At this current point, my unique selling proposition is probably my Penn and Teller performance, as well as that I'm the guy, and I'm not saying this is truth, I'm saying this is to my market. This is the message.
Sure.
I'm the guy that other magicians come to for effects. I'm the guy that invents magic that other magicians can do for their audiences. And that's a good point. That's a good position to be in for a corporate client, because they can look at everything I've done with Ellusionist, know I understand business, marketing, products, but also I must have enough in me that other magicians pay for my ideas. That's the only thing I've got as a unique selling product. I'm not the funniest guy out there. I don't have the big trick that nobody else does. So I've taken what I do have, which is my assets of Ellusionist work, and I've tried to twist that into a way that it makes sense for them to hire me for it. And it's not great. It doesn't work very well. I'm just taking a course next February with David Hyra to learn the ins and outs of corporate magic. You know, I'm about a third of the way where I want to be in my corporate work. I'm called the worker. I don't work so often that I'm happy. You know, I could double the amount of shows I do. I just raised my fee, but now my fee at $3,000 to $5,000 a show, I could easily double that and still be in a place where I could take a few more shows. So it's a never-ending battle. Lou Serrano has been supporting himself as a magician for, I think, 10 years. And he's constantly learning more about business, taking courses, taking seminars. So I will say, if you want to get into magic for a living, you must realize you are going to work harder than you would at a whole lot of other jobs that will pay you more. I promise you that. If you want to make $150,000 to $200,000 a year as a magician, you're going to do more hard work than you will ever think possible, and it doesn't stop. You don't just build a website, have your assets in place, and let it sit there. You continuously pump out material that keeps you at the front of people's minds. That's hard. That's not magic. That's not performing. That's not creating. That's work. So if you want this as a career, there is much, much, much more work than fun. Now, does it pay off? Is it worth it? Absolutely. 100%. And if you can couple that with when you get on stage, you're moving people, you're changing their lives, you're giving them experiences that they deserve from a place of love, it's 100% worth it.
Adam, I want to respect your time. We've been here for more than an hour, and you've given us so much value already. I'm just going to thank you for coming on. And if there's anything that you want to say again, or something that you would like to touch on, but you felt like you didn't get the opportunity, please go ahead. Otherwise,
I'll leave on a truth and honesty from my heart. I'm in a place in my life where I'm figuring things out. I'm in a transitional phase. I'm 36. I have 2 kids. I'm not to where I want to be, but I'm also not an idiot to look at people and say I haven't experienced. I'm not in a good place. I'm in a great place, but I'm learning. I'm trying to figure it out. And through this, the last couple of years, the one thing I can say is genuinely try and do everything from a place of love. So before you react, accept, digest, and reciprocate with love first. It sounds so corny and new agey, but trust me, forgiving and loving and coming from everything you do in a spot of love is going to put you further. Caring about helping other people as opposed to caring about what they can do for you, It's a harder road, it's a more challenging road, and it is by far the most gratifying and fulfilling road because it takes years and that starts paying itself back. So do everything you can to try and help other people in the world. If you're worried about how to get more shows, do charity shows that you believe that charity, and do it not with the understanding this will book me more shows. Do it because it's the right thing to do. And then lastly, I'll be selfish and plug my book. If you at all resonate with wanting to learn about creativity, seeing how I approached creativity and some struggles I went through, please check this book out. I really did work hard on it, and I just want honest feedback. Is it shit? Should I just stick to creating magic and leave authoring? Let me know. You know, you're not going to hurt my feelings. If it's good and it helps you or moves you, by all means, please let me know. That's the point of this. And if you can't, it's not for sale yet. It will be very shortly. Penn and Teller will air on October 30th. We just got the confirmed date. I'm going to launch the book after it airs. I'm asking for your respect and honesty. And if you can't afford my book, send me an email. If you honestly can't afford it, just email me. I'm more than happy to get a copy to you if you think it'll benefit you. If you can support it, by all means, I would appreciate it. But if you can't, it's more important that you read it and I get the feedback and hopefully help you be more creative.
How can people email you?
It's info@adamwilber.com. And my last name is spelled with an E, not a U, so it's Wilber. info@adamwilber.com. And dude, Christoph, again, thanks, man. A lot of times when I do interviews, they're dry and cumbersome and they don't spark ideas and thoughts. I've really appreciated your time because your questions have helped me say things that maybe needed to come out as well. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And I respect the hustle and I respect your time as well.
Thank you very much. There's actually one thing. I tried to say this earlier, kind of stumbled. I think I'm ready to try again. It's a thought. I think people get into magic for the stature, the gratification of being awesome because you know something that other people don't. That's what magic looks like from afar. But as you get closer to it, you're disappointed by the methods to find out that you can't actually make a card go through the deck, but that you're just lifting up 2 cards. So, to stay in magic, you have to find another motivation. And I think that's what I was trying to say when I'm trying to convert my motivation to improving someone else's life somehow. You have to stay in magic. You're going to be disappointed with the methods because it's not real. But to stay in magic, you have to find something more that you want to try and offer others and figure out how you can make that work. I think that's what I was trying to say.
I couldn't agree more. And be honest with yourself. Some people try it and go, you know what? I really love magic. And if I have to make it a career and my living out of it, I don't love it anymore because then I'm forced to do it even if I don't want to. And then you just be honest and go, okay, I'll find another career that supports my income, but I'll have magic as my love when I want to do it. Many people do it that way, and that's the correct way for them to do it. You know, if you're going to say, I'm going to make magic my living, then you're absolutely spot on. You need to find the motivation. If it's the money, and that's solely the motivation, then magic won't ever be an art to you. Magic will just be a job. If your motivation is to make people love or feel better or live better lives, then I'll bet you if you can stick with that and keep your love for magic, you'll put together the most inspiring, moving magic show that will even blow your socks off. You'll look at it 5 years down the road and go, I don't even know how I did that. So I think you're spot on.
Thank you for your time, Adam. Is there anything else you want to plug? Social media, Ellusionist, anything?
Buy all the stuff we have at Ellusionist. I mean, we work really hard. We get a lot of shit and we make mistakes like everyone, but we try very hard to put good magic out. So, check out the website, Ellusionist.com. We've got some amazing things coming out. My Penn and Teller thing will air on October 30th. Watch that, then watch the website shortly after. So that's it. Thanks again for your time, man. And if anyone has any questions or I can be of help to someone in their life, you've got my email. And again, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing good things for magic by every single interview you do. So kudos, buddy.
Thank you, Adam.